So that's my details up there on the side, my mobile, email and my LinkedIn profile, so feel free to connect. I love connecting with people. I'm happy to have people connect on any channel. So yeah, approach me. I love to have conversations, chat about everything that's going on for you. So yes, I'd love to hear from you. So releasing your inner greatness, the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. So that's what we're here for. We're here to find out why and get you started on that journey. A lot of people are already on that journey, but if you're not, this is the place to take the first steps. We want to be about what we put on this earth to do. So every person is created for a unique and special purpose, and basically there's nobody in this room who's like you. Nobody tastes food the way you do, nobody can smell or hear music the way you do, nobody can solve problems the same as you. Everything that you've done in your life up to this date, the sum of all those experiences, the people you've interacted with, the good and the bad that's happened to you, basically makes you this amazing, unique creation that fills a very specific place in the network and system of the earth, okay? And your gifts are for the world. So if you're an amazing composer and you write this beautiful song, it's not just so that you can sit in your room at home and play that to yourself. It's so that the world can hear the beauty of that. So what we're all about is about taking that greatness, that really special, unique thing that's you, and putting it out there into the entire world so that everyone can experience it and raise themselves up to another level of greatness as a result of that. Your authentic self is that constant part of you that's always the same. It's that part of you that's the heart and soul of you that's always been there ever since you were born and will be there all the days of your life. But the expression of that will vary throughout your entire life. So you might find that in some phases of your life you're a writer, in other phases you might be a sportsman. You'll be doing totally different things, but the core of you is always the same. So don't get too hung up on the role that you're in today or the place of life that you find yourself in, the season, because that inner, constant, authentic part of yourself is the part that we're growing and that is still going to go. Come in, welcome. That's okay, come in, just take a seat. So that's the part of yourself that we're talking about tonight, how to get in touch with that authentic, constant self that is with you the whole way through, no matter what role or job or stage of life that you're in. And why are we talking about this at Leadership is Awesome? Why does it matter about our inner greatness? Because leaders are entrusted with calling out the destinies of others. So everyone here who's attracted to leadership, who wants to be a leader, who currently is a leader, all of those drives that you have in yourself, that's a calling on your life to be drawing out from other people the giftings that they have in themselves. And we can only do that if we've done the work ourselves. So if we haven't gone on this journey, if we haven't done the hard yards to find out who we are and what our authentic self is, we don't have any credibility or effectiveness to be able to drive other people along on that path either. And this is about being able to build a map and a pathway and a framework, and you don't have to be kilometres ahead of the person that you're journeying with. You just need to be on that path and be able to show them little pieces to draw them along too. So it's all about taking people with us. Okay, so initially I was going to do this all in one talk, but it was quite content rich, so we decided to split it into two parts. The 4 areas of focus of a human being, which is your spiritual, personality, heart, essence side, your mental, physical and emotional. I'm going to do those next month in the second part, and that will take us into each of those ones and look at strategies in each of those areas of our lives. Tonight we're going to go into the 4 growth principles that I've got here, which is transformation happens in relationship, intentional and strategic, lifelong and incremental, and pain accompanies growth. And you'll still get some action points and things that you can take away to start putting those principles at work in your life, and then you can, if you wanted to come into the deeper level and apply them to the areas of your life, then next month we'll take you into that side. And we do actually record the talks. We are a little bit behind on putting them up, but they'll go on the website too, so you can watch if you miss out on you can't make it to the next one. Okay, so transformation happens in a relationship. Now, every single hurt and trauma and bad thing that's ever happened to you has happened as a result of an interaction with another human being. And conversely, every amazing, inspiring, healing thing that's ever happened to you has also happened in relationship with another human being. So how we're transformed for good and for bad is when we connect with other people. And our unique gifts, they need collaboration. So those gifts we talked about, who we are, that core, we really need other people to bring it out. So if you think about it in the context of a body, your body's a system and it works. It's got hundreds of different parts. Like you've got your eyes, which are great at seeing, but useless at taking in food. Your mouth is for that. So you have each piece is complex and intricate, and it's a system in itself and does its own things, but it interrelates with the other pieces and is actually made better. So when we have all the parts in the system working together in the body, we actually can be a full system that works. So human inspiration versus willpower, what I've got here is a lot of the times when we're trying to change, we actually think about willpower and we say, okay, I'm seeing some groaning faces. Yeah, we think, all right, I've got to do this. I've set myself this goal, my resolutions, whatever it is, and I'm going to stick to it every day. I'm going to make myself, I should, and it's going to happen. And we get started, and sometimes we're better at it than others. We get a little bit along the journey, and then we fizzle out. Okay, because we're doing it by ourselves, basically. And the difference between doing things in relationship and doing it on your own is that if you're struggling, say you've said to someone, okay, I'm going to eat well, I'm going to eat healthy, no takeaway, and you're really struggling, if you try to always make it about your willpower, chances are that after a while you'll fall. But if you do it in relationship, you can text someone and say, look, I'm really struggling with tonight's meal. I think I'm about to order something. And they can say, look, I'll come over and we'll make something together. Or you can do it, you know, this is just one meal, it's just one choice in your life. There's always tomorrow to order takeaway. How about you stick with it? So we can then get our willpower back because of that interaction that we've had in that relationship. So think about the relationships in your life and how they ebb and flow. And this one's really crucial because I think what we tend to do in life is we cluster our relationships and then we think, okay, I've got these people and they're going to meet all the needs that I have. And then some of those people actually can't meet those particular needs. And so then we become disappointed. So we need to hold a really loose framework on our relationships and let them ebb and flow. So people come into our lives sometimes just for one season, to teach one project or to collaborate with something at work. Some people are there for the long haul. You'll know them till the day you die. And it's up to us to kind of not try and control that, but actually release the other person to be whatever it is that they are to us and not become frustrated and holding a grudge that they can't stay or do what we wanted them to do. So let it ebb and flow, but think about who is for you and who is against you. Okay, come in. Hi, come in. Hello, welcome, come in. Find a seat wherever you're comfortable. So have a think about who's for you and who's against you. And when I say who's for you, I mean who are the people that are cheering you on, who want you to succeed, who are thinking to themselves, you know what, if he's doing so well at the mouth, then I'm going to be great at the eye, and we're all good together. So who are those people that want you to shine, who want things to happen to you? Now, if you don't have people in your life right now that fulfill that role, I just want to say to you that we are for you. We are not against you here. This community, this Leadership of Awesome, we have purposefully designed this as a safe place where people who want to grow and sharpen and become the best versions of themselves can do that. And so we are for you. So I want you to look to the person next to you and say, I am for you. So now you know you've all got somebody. You've all got somebody who's for you. You've got one person in your life, anywhere in this room, and the person next to you that you can talk to if you're saying, I want to be a better version of myself. Okay, so when we're thinking about our relationships too, it's really, really important to leave a space for new people because you're not finished growing yet. You have not done all the things in your life that you need to do to become the best version of yourself. And if transformation happens in relationship and we need people to spark that change in us, then we can't afford to be closing ourselves off to any future people and connections in our life. So So we don't want to be saying, okay, I've got my friends, my family, I've got my crew, I'm good, I don't need any more connections, I don't have space in my life. We want to always leave a space for new people to come in and to sharpen and interact with us. And the last one, the boring stuff, is better in company. And this is all about, like, you know, when you've got that mountain of dishes after the dinner party and it's just a disaster and you're thinking to yourself, I'm so overwhelmed, I just want to go to bed. How much more fun is that when your friends stay and you're all laughing and talking and getting it done? Transformation's hard work and it's good in company. So that'll take the edge off all those hard tasks, like the dishes, that you just don't want to do by yourself. There's something about doing that in a group where your momentum just gets going and you collaborate all together that makes it doable instead of something that you give up on. The only person you're destined to become is the person you decide to be. So this takes us into our next point, which is about being intentional and strategic. Okay, I want you to all start from a point of kindness when I say this, because otherwise we're going to get this whole judgment thing over ourselves of, I should have done this, I've wasted my time, why didn't I do this before, and so on. Your life today reflects all the tiny choices that you've ever made to this date, okay? So, and omissions are a choice too. So what I mean by omission is where we've chosen not to act. So we've stopped and we've not jumped into it. So your acts and omissions to this date are everything that you've got. So what you've got in your life right now is pretty much what you want to have right now, because you haven't made choices to change it. So if you want something different, we've got to focus the intentions and build a different strategy to change that. And I want you to measure and map yourself, okay? So not the person next to you, not the other person that is 30 and you're 30 and you should be the same as them because they're in the same team and so on. That's ringing true. we want to look at who was I yesterday and who am I today. So we're talking about measuring ourselves against ourselves. And the kindness part that comes in here is, I understand that in your life there's going to be times where there's going to have been some things that came your way that you wouldn't have chosen. You know, that people in a position of power put you in a circumstance that was not what you desired for yourself, and possibly you're still in that situation. But what we want to focus on is all the tiny choices that we do have. Where are the areas that we do have control, even amongst the places where it seems as though we're just being, life is happening to us. Life is not happening to us. You have got some mastery there. So focus in, even if it's the tiniest thing, and be intentional about that. And our choices all have a compound effect, negative and positive. So what we want to do is create a positive spiral. So what I mean here is, if we say pick one thing. So this is for everyone that's thinking, oh my gosh, I've got this huge amount of stuff to do, my life's a big mess, where am I going to start? So something as simple as get a little bit more sleep, that can have a compound effect of, okay, now I'm not so tired tomorrow, so I'm going to go for my walk and I'm going to increase my exercise. And now that I'm exercising, you know what, I don't want to eat that cake, I'm going to actually eat something better tonight for dinner, or cook something from scratch. And now that I'm eating really well, gee, my body feels better, and I suddenly don't have that pain that I used to have that now I can't use my shoulder. So suddenly, we've chosen one tiny thing and we've created this positive spiral that's upwardly lifted 4 different areas of our life and changed a whole different thing. So compound effect, choose something and watch it ripple out, and just keep going until the changes solidify. Okay, I love this quote. This is, sow a thought and you reap an action, sow an act and you reap a habit, sow a habit and you reap a character, sow a character and you reap a destiny. And the 2 words I want you to focus on in this quote is sow a thought and destiny as the last one. So what we're talking about here is a tiny vapour of thought, a little idea that flicks across your head, gone in a moment, and suddenly at the end you've got a whole life destiny. The whole great work of who you are, everything you were made to be and created. So all that stuff in the middle is how you get from that tiny thought to that amazing destiny. And they're all just repetitive steps, incrementally getting larger and larger, until you're turning into that person of greatness that you wanted to be from the beginning. So that takes us into lifelong and incremental. There's no shortcuts, everyone, I'm sorry to tell you. And no matter where you are at in your life, the work is going to appear at some point. So if you've cruised along up to date and you've been someone who's been really fortunate and had a lot of things go your way, that's wonderful, and you've learnt lots from that too. But the work of, thank you, thanks. Come in. No worries. The work of actually changing yourself and transforming who you are into that person of greatness, that's going to appear all the way through your life, because there's lessons that are kind of fundamentals in life that we have to learn, and learning about compassion, learning about how to deal with our emotions, containment, relational things. So if we don't learn them at one point, they will come out later. So hence the cliches we have about midlife crisis that people have and all those kind of things. So do the work because it's coming. It's either coming now or it's coming later. So you might as well get started on it because it will come through your lifetime. Now we have a whole lifetime to do this. That's the good thing about it. Most people will have a span of 80 years to do this work. Okay, so and most of us are only in like the first half of that 80 years. So you've got at least a good 50% to go. And the good thing about that, because it does take a whole lifetime to become that person of greatness, you can't derail it in one day. So if you have a really bad day and you make some really bad choices, you're not going to derail your entire life in that one choice. So keep at it and keep that consistency. The regular and consistent action is what's going to take you to that place of greatness. The best version of you that I'm talking about here should be the person of you taking their last breath on earth. Okay? So if there's another version, the best version of you was earlier than that, somewhere along the line, that means you've stopped growing and stopped learning. So we don't want to be that person that says, 10 years ago I used to be such and such when I had more money, or I was fitter, or I was younger, or I had whatever. We want to be the best version of ourselves the day we take our last breath. And this reminded me, my grandfather, he used to talk like this, and he had an amazing life, and there were a lot of great things I learned from him, but one of the consistent regrets that used to come up for him is he used to talk about a story and say to me, everything was, we were doing this in our village, he's from Italy, and then the Second World War came, and then that's it was over. And I thought, that was in the 40s, and he lived till he was 96. So he had another like 60 years after that event, but his mind could only keep going back to that place and say, after that, it was just all melancholy, there was no way past. And I understand, and I say again with the kindness, I have great compassion because I understand that there was probably, some traumatic stress there was issues that would have happened that he couldn't break through. So I get that people become stuck in their places, but it just was really mindful to me to see that one event like that can derail you and literally stop you decades before your death from continuing to grow. And he could have used an extra 60 years to change his life and die with different perspective, thinking today is my best day. Okay, so learning to love repetition. This takes me back when I was 16. I joined the Air Training Corps, which is like the junior Air Force. For any of you guys that know about that, I wanted to learn to fly those little Cessna planes, and thank goodness I don't, because I hear about them on the news all the time. But but that was my motivation for going there. And the frustration for me, I was there for the pilot lessons, but I had to endure the repetition of all these other rules that they had in the Air Force. And what it actually taught me when I'm looking back on it is, we'd go on a camp and we'd do all this fun, amazing stuff like learn the navigation and the terrain and go up in the aircraft, but then they'd say, your hair's out of place and you haven't bobby pinned that bun properly, and there's a stripe that's meant to go down your blanket in the middle of the bed, and that has to be exactly right, and your shoes have to be shined and so on. And I always thought to myself as a teenager, what is the point of all of these things when we're doing this amazing stuff like, flying planes and doing all this greatness? And what I've realised about it is that knowing how to shine your shoes every single day and make your bed straight and creates that muscle of discipline and perseverance in you in all of those basic tasks, right? It gets you to check your inventory every day. It gets you to check, have I got what I need? Does everything work? Is anything out of place? Am I who I need to be today? Have I got my resources? And so what you do is you start controlling all these little things, and then when the big chaotic decisions come, like, okay, now we've got to all scramble and fly the plane and think on our feet and do that, we're already ready. We've got everything, all the groundwork is done, right? So that's what I learned from that, love the repetition. So when you go home tonight and there's dishes in the sink again, and you do them, and then tomorrow people make new dishes, say, yay, I'm becoming more persevering. Thank you for those dishes. Don't get ahead of your character. And what I mean by this is, don't be the person that says, okay, I'm so inspired by this, I'm going to go out and do this massive change in my life. I've always wanted to grow my own food, so this weekend we're going to spend the whole weekend, we're going to dig up the entire garden, we're going to plant a veggie patch, we're going to put fencing up, we're going to put those things in, fertilise it all, plant it all, and whatever, and then at the end of the day you look back and you're so satisfied and you go, wow, look at this amazing thing I've accomplished. And then what happens the week after, and the week after, and the week after that? It dies, doesn't it? Because if you're never a gardener, and all of a sudden you put a huge thing in front of yourself that you've never done before, and you've never done consistently, you've not allowed your character to catch up with the task that you've set before it, okay? So it's better for you to buy one pot of mint and let that grow and nourish that every day, and then add parsley once you've got the mint sorted, than to go and do a whole big thing and watch all of your efforts go to waste, because that level of consistency can't be maintained. It'd be the same as going to the gym and saying, all right, I've never weightlifted before, but today I'm going to lift 100 kilos. You would injure yourself, you'd be out for months, and you'd never be able to repeat that action. Much better that you go 5 kilos, 6 kilos, 7 and so on, and get to your 100 at the end of your couple of months, than to try and do it once and in a blaze of glory and then be shot down and never to return. So start with a simple solution. This is another garden story I've got. Dan and I a long time ago did try and do that whole veggie patch thing. And we went and bought all these things and we set up all this stuff, and we found also that once we were growing these lettuces, possums kept eating them. And we thought, okay, what are we going to do with this? They keep stealing them in the night. So we thought of all these complex solutions, and we thought maybe we'll get some lights that switch on and motion sensors, and we'll fence it all in, and we'll get these stakes and we'll put everything around, and we'll basically build like Fort Knox around our thing so they can't get in. And then we were in Bunnings, and our 4-year-old, our son who was 4 at the time, picked up this owl, which is a motion sensor owl that just says hoot when something passes it, and said, what about this? And we were like, oh my goodness, the most simple solution, and that is what worked. We bought that owl and we put it there, and that's what stopped the possums. It was like $8 solution. One simple thing, we stuck it in the middle, and we didn't have to do this whole building of a framework and all of that. And I think sometimes when we're looking at transformation, we get ourselves worked up and we think this is really big and complex, and I need to put all of these things in place before I can get started, and if I don't, then I can't move. So start with the simplest thing you can, and as long as you're doing something, you're headed in that direction of intention and strategic, just keep doing it, and that will work. And your future self is going to be grateful, because everything you do now, your future self doesn't have to deal with that crap later. So, if you left emails in your inbox today, your future self has to put up with those tomorrow. So try and do today's work. There's someone shaking their head up there. So try and do today's work today if you can, and try and do one little chip off yesterday's work too. Okay, so if you can try and contain, and there'll be reasons you can't do today's work today, so there'll be strategies of why you've got too much on your plate and so on, so that's something to look at too. But when today's work is here, you get it done, and then you take a little bit off yesterday's, and if you keep doing that, eventually yesterday's stuff backlog is gone, and you're just then dealing with today every time, and that makes you free to actually build your greatness and your strategy. Okay, the final principle is pain accompanies growth. So the athlete's mantra is pain is my friend, right? So everything that an athlete wants to do when they want to build to the next level, they want to smash it out and go further, they know it's going to hurt. And they just accept that, and they train their brains to accept that. They accept and prepare for pain, and they welcome it, because to them it's a sign that they're growing. Okay, but what we do instead is we think that pain needs to be anaesthetised, right? And Western society in particular. Okay, so we've got a lot of conveniences. Who's sitting on a cushion right now? Put your hands up. That's right. Okay, so everyone who's not sitting on a cushion, you're building your pain muscle right now. Good job. So what we do is we're so conditioned in our society to avoid pain. We get a headache, we take a tablet. If we don't want to cook, we just order in. If we don't want to walk, we take the lift. We just use every possible convenience we can to avoid pain. Right? We don't invite it into our life, we run a mile from it, we anaesthetise it from our lives. Okay, so what we need to practice if we're going to grow is we've got to invite pain back in. Okay, so one of the ways of doing this is to catalogue your pain. So what I mean by that is to have a look at your life journey and look at all the different things that might have happened to you that are traumatic or hard or things that you've enjoyed. And rather than looking at the losses that you've suffered in those times, I want you to look at the endurance that you did. So I want to look at it as in, I survived this thing. I now know how to emotionally get over a really difficult relationship. Or I now know how to push through the pain barrier in physical things, you know. And think about all the strengths that you have learned and built up in all of those pain experiences, so that when you go to do transformation and future growth, you can say, I've got this. Because remember last year when I did XYZ, and now I know this doesn't even compare. So why am I afraid? I can do this. I've been through worse and I've survived. So train yourself to remember the pain and what it taught you. Okay? And your prior suffering can be a massive advantage in here. So if you didn't have a great childhood, if you didn't have all those things that you look to other people and go, oh, they're so ahead of me because I can't catch up ever, your pain is actually puts you ahead in different ways. Okay, because you've got that resilience and endurance that person will still need to learn down the track. Like we said, it comes up later somewhere in their life. They've still got to find that skill. So you've got that. So grab that and use it to re-engineer your reward pathways. And the way we do that is we bring in uncomfortable and manual things back into our lives. Okay, so we're going to start like thinking of all the things that we don't want to do, like take a cold shower or sit on the hard chair and all of those things, and just to remind yourself that it doesn't kill you. You know, you can survive it. You can do this. Okay, and you want to become a person whose reward pathways go back to the way they were originally designed, which is the opposite of instant gratification. Okay, so you want a pathway that says, I need to work for this, it is hard. And now I've achieved it, I've enjoyed it, and I'm awesome now. And I'm sitting back and I'm so satisfied and it feels so good. Okay, so let's be that person that has no price, no fear, and no defeat. Okay, so no obstacle that comes in your way is going to scare you or do anything to you, because you know, you've got your catalogue, you know what you've faced and what you've succeeded in. So you know you can do it. Okay, so what resources do we need on this journey? Healthy growth relationships, so people in your corner that care about where you're going and want you to succeed and are going to rally behind you. Professional help, so mentor, coach, counsellor, tutor, a course, medical, organiser, cleaner. So I don't hesitate to get professional help in my life when I need it, in all spheres. I'm from a psychology background, so if ever I've got emotional blockages, I'll straight away go and see a counsellor, because there's no point me just wallowing through it and trying to work it out. I'll just go and use that experience and those lessons of that person and that expertise. They've already gone before me, they've got the pathways, so let's follow it. I'll go to a medical doctor straight away if something's off, you know, like don't put off your checkups, don't put off those things, because it stops your greatness from happening. And your space, you know, if you can't get on top of your space, if you can't figure out how to deal with your the way your environment looks, you can't get your house clean, get someone to come in and no worries, get someone to come in and help you clear that backlog. Hire a professional cleaner, get it sorted, get yourself back to ground zero so you can start being great again and build on what you need to do. Accountability partners, and this is the person next to you or the person that you know that you've made a connection with. So these people don't necessarily need to have expertise in the area that you're trying to go for, so it's a bit different to the professional, but there's someone who said, yeah, I'll go with you on that journey. So I'll text you every week and make sure that you went to the gym, or I'll text you every week and make sure you didn't sit on the cushion. You know, like they are the one that's going to say, how are you going with that? And you can be real with them and say, actually not so great, or yeah, I'm really flourishing, thanks for the encouragement and so on. So find accountability partners in the areas that you want, and you'll see yourself move a lot more forward. And then obviously the books, internet, videos, all the resources that are out there, there's so much we can learn. But again, always bring it back to relationship. So whatever you learn and digest yourself, take it to someone, chat about it, pull it apart, get it to go in and bring that relationship side in. Okay, so taking action. So the 4 principles again are there on the side. Transformation in relationship, intentional and strategic, lifelong and incremental, and pain accompanies growth. So what you can do to take action is you can choose one small task in each of those principles and build towards that. So whether it's building a better community of people that are for you, or being a little bit more intentional about you mapping yourself out where you want to go, or choosing how to be a bit more incremental, like flossing your teeth every day. I'm going to do that and do it every single day. And the pain ones we've already talked about. So list your partners and resources that you might need to help you achieve that goal, and then add with progress. And always be kind and compassionate to yourself, and be okay with where you're at, because this is a whole life journey. This is going on till your last breath. I think we're shutting down. There we go. The task of leadership is not to put greatness into humanity, but to elicit it, for the greatness is already there. So remember, human beings are capable of so much greatness. They can do everything from paint a sunset, fall in love, they can create things and cure things, they can survive underground without food for days, they can survive concentration camps, they can survive all manner of injuries and traumas and everything. So every single one of you has an amazing mix of talents and skills and everything in you that you need, and just putting the principles in place. So I just want you to go forth and be great.